Bezras Hashem Yisporach Erev Shabbos Kodesh Parashat Vayakel Shnas Tov Shir Pei Beis Likras Shabbos Uchu V'Neilcho Ki Hi Mekoira Brocha. We know that the women were zoicha to a special Yom Tov called Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh originally was a Yom Tov for men and women. But in last week's Parashat Kisiso, since the men, they contributed to the Egel, the golden calf, they were taken from them the Yom Tov, and the Yom Tov was given to the women. And until today, it's written in the Shulchan Aruch that women on Rosh Chodesh are noyeg not to sew clothing, and some people don't do certain melachos on Rosh Chodesh to commemorate the Yom Tov of Rosh Chodesh, which is to the women, since they didn't take part in contributing to the golden calf, the Egel. The question is, in this week's parsha, we find the Das Kein Mibale Toisus. One of the earlier Meforshim says on the Pasuk, Vayevoyu Anoshim al Anoshim. The men had to join the women with giving towards the Mishkan, and since the women gave so generously to the Mishkan, there was zoicha that on the day when they established the Mishkan, which was on the first day of Nisan, that is the day that became a Rosh Chodesh, and for all future Rosh Chodesh, the women, it's a Yom Tov for the women. Why? Because they gave so generously to the Mishkan. Like it says, the men had to join the women with giving towards the Mishkan. So the question is, why do the women, with what did the reward that they had, that they have Rosh Chodesh as a Yom Tov? Is it because they didn't give to the Egel? They didn't take part of the donations for the Egel? Or was it because they gave for the Mishkan? And they gave so generously, with such a good heart, that's why they were zoicha to have a Rosh Chodesh, which was established on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. So there's a beautiful mahalach by Rav Mordechai Miller from Gateshead, said a beautiful approach to this idea, which we can learn a message to Avodas Hashem. And the approach is as follows. It's based on a Mishnah in Meseches Avos, Perek Hey, Mishnah Yud Aleph in Meseches Avos. An amazing idea. It says as follows: Arba midos bedeyos. There are four types of people. There are people which is noyach lichois v'noyach lirtzois. There are certain people which is easy for them to become angry. It's as well easy to appease them. Such a type of person who has such a temperament, he is yotzos schora be'efseidoi. He loses more than he gains, because it's very easy for him to be bekas. Somebody is the whole time easy for him to be bekas, then he loses more than what he gains. But the other person, which is kosher lichois, the kosher lirtzois, then it's Yosef Seder Beschoroi. But a person who is, it's difficult to make him into a cast, but as well it's difficult to appease him. He gains more than he loses, since it is hard to make him become angry. These are so far the two types of people. The Mishnah goes on to say another two types of people. One is kosher lichois v'noyach lirtzois, meaning a person who it is very difficult to make him angry, very difficult. But it's very easy for him to become appeased. When he does get angry, it's easy to appease him and to calm him down. Such a person is a chosid, a tzaddik, a holy person. It's hard to make him angry, and if he does get angry, it's easy to appease him. He is a tzaddik. But there is another one, which he is noyach lechois. Him you can make him angry kacha. But kosher litzois, it's very difficult to appease him. Oh, that's a Rasha. This is a wicked person. So asks the Maharal, why only on the last two do we name the type of people they are? This one is a tzaddik, this one is a Rasha. Whereas the first one, you're just saying he gains more than he loses more than he gains. Why is it that we change the first two cases to the last two cases of the Mishnah? And as well, generally we can ask on the Mishnah, isn't it all about temperament, the nature of a person? So why is he called a chosid? Why is he called a Rasha? So explains the Maharal a very interesting idea. Says the Holy Maharal, because a person who is always difficult to make him angry and difficult to appease him, meaning this is his type of person he is. It's hard to appease him, it's hard to make him angry. That means it's very hard to influence his feelings, right? He's a person who's hard to influence him. That's the type of person he is. So he loses more than he gains. But if somebody, let's say, is that it's hard to, but the other person that it is easy to make him angry and easy to appease him, then he's another type of person. He has a nature that it's easy to affect his mood, easy to affect his emotional state, and you can easily make him angry and you can easily appease him. So such a person loses more than he gains. And so therefore, these two is a type of people that they are. But the other two, just a minute. Let's take a look at this tzaddik. He is a person who's hard to make him angry. But to appease him, it's easy to appease him. So that means it's a choice. It's not a nature, it's a choice. That means it's hard to make him angry. When he's angry, he can catch himself, he can control himself, and he can be easily appeased. So we see there's a contradiction here in his nature. To become angry, it's difficult, and to become appeased is easy, and this together makes him into a tzaddik. Whereas the Rasha, he chooses the midas in the wrong way, because by him it's easy to make him angry, but to appease him, it's very difficult to appease him. So 1 minute, if it's easy to make you angry, why is it easy to appease you? So it must be that his midas, his core midas of the person is that to make him angry it's easy to make him angry, but to appease him is difficult. That's a Rasha. So we see when a person chooses, a person has a choice how to react in every situation. So going back to this question we asked about the women by the Egel or the Mishkan, because when they didn't contribute, when they didn't give their jewelry for the Egel, we could have said that's their nature. Maybe they're stingy. Maybe the women were stingy and they didn't want to part with their jewelry, for whatever case it was. But you do not see the Avodas Hashem. You do not see the tzidkut that the Noshim had. But in this week's Parashat in Vayakel, when the women were the first ones giving the jewelry to the Mishkan, that's when we see that they were generously gave to the Mishkan. We see there wasn't a natural instinct. It was a choice that they took. That for the Egel they're not giving, and for the Mishkan they are going to give. So therefore, on the holy Rosh Chodesh Nisan, when they gave joyously and they saw the Mishkan being established, Ashras Hashchina, they were so rejoiceful that their tachshitim, their jewelry was used for such as holy Mishkan, for the resting place of the Shechina. That's when they received the reward. On that day it showed the completion, the tzidkut, the holiness, the righteousness of the women, that by the Egel they didn't give, and the Mishkan they gave joyfully. So then they were zoiche every chodesh. Every chodesh they were zoiche to a Yom Tov. So it's two parts, and this is the idea. We can learn this lesson for ourselves in our own lives. Not only for who we give the money to, we give the money for good things and not for bad things, but as well to what do we give our time, where do we invest time? Do we invest time in it has to be a decision that we invest time in the right things and not in the bad things. We invest energy, we invest money. Everything we do shouldn't just be our natural instinct of generosity, but rather should always be a choice on this idea. Am I going to invest or am I not going to invest? And this is the way we live in Bedarkei Hashem, in the way where HaKadosh Baruch Hu we find is important, and that will give us best and great siyata d'shmaya and blessing. And thank you very much for listening.